So this is my final character drawing in Illustrator. I wanted to show you this first to give you an idea of where we're going. But one of the really important things to bring out of this portion of the process in the project is the Illustrator document has to be optimized for animation in After Effects. And that also means that your layer structure is optimized for animation. So I'm going to show you those two things. I'm not going to run through every different aspect of Illustrator. I'm taking for granted that you have some familiarity with Illustrator. Do contact me with any questions you have about Illustrator and rendering your character in Illustrator. You can make your character as simple as a stick figure. So everyone's is going to look different, right? But you can, at this point, you can make it as simple as you want. The important thing is you're able to portray those two emotions and a shift between them. So that's the next step, is bringing this into Illustrator and getting it ready to animate between those two emotions. Let's take a look. When you make a new Illustrator document, make sure that you select Film and Video options, and in those presets, you select an HD preset. Now, this 1920 by 1080 pixel preset also comes with a transparent background, which is super important because you're going to want to be able to have the flexibility of moving your character around unlinked from a background, right? You want to have that empty space back there so you can put whatever you want back there. It gives you a screen resolution for your raster effects, and it naturally comes in as a horizontal orientation. So all of this is set up designed for screen, which is essential, right? Not for, say, a poster or something else. So I'm going to press create here. Now I'm going to make sure that I save this by going to Save, File, Save As into my project folder. Super important. All these settings are just fine. So now I have my blank canvas here. This checkerboard pattern means that I have a transparent background. The first thing I'm going to do is place my sketch in there. So I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to find that sketch and put it in there. Important to have everything coming from the same folder, again, right? I can't stress this enough. File organization is going to matter a great deal. Now I get this little preview image here, and this, I can just click on anywhere on here, and I can bring it in there. So with my selection tool, I'm just going to move it in somewhat to the center here. You can see it's quite large, so I'm going to use this, the Object Transform Scale. Let's do a preview so we can see what we're looking at here. And I'm going to reduce that down to like 50. All right, so that's pretty good. Let's see. Maybe do 40. All right, good. And I'll just move it into the center. So these are reference sketches, so I can just, if I'm going to do shoulder up, then that's pretty good. Maybe just do one tiny bit more of a transform, scale it down just a tiny bit here. Not that much. So a further 10% maybe. Yeah, that's good. All right, so that just roughly, so what I want to have here is a shoulder and above image here. And I want to have that within the action safe. These little marks here are action and title safe. It should at least come into this second edge here. You want to make sure that all the important information at the top of the head, especially, is within this action safe boundary. All right, so some basic drawing stuff. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm just going to go between the different characters here. You can see a couple of things here. So the first thing I want to do actually is trace out my head shape. Just lock the bottom layer, and I'm going to make a new layer for head shape. Call this head shape. And zoom in here a little bit. Okay, so now I can take my pen tool and I'm just going to draw out simply my head shape, right? And I'm going to create this pretty simply, right? Just with a few points as possible.
and join it up, right? So now you can use your direct selection tool is to kind of balance these things out here. All right, so I'm going to take my fill out, right? And I'm going to leave the stroke on for now, but eventually I'm going to take it off so that, and I can just do like red or something so I can really see it. So there, I get my head shape. I can always change that fill. I'm actually going to make it a fill, but a skin color fill, but for now I'm just going to do that. Now I got my head shape here. You can add a path onto these things. So now I got an ear there, right? And I'm going to adjust, zoom in a little bit here. Let's adjust these so I don't have like Spock ears from Star Trek. So yeah, you can see you can just round these little handles here. So depending on how you want your character to look, right? Whatever features you decided to accentuate. And then overall, maybe I'll make it a little smaller because that's just a little bit too big for the ears, right? And a cool thing you can do here, I'll just take my sketch off for clarity. For symmetry, for all these features, what you can do is actually go to Object, Transform, Reflect, and I can make a copy. So I'm just using my reference sketch here. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of liking that. And then, you know, you can draw the eyes same way, right? So I can take this pen tool, right? Let's do a separate layer. And I'm going to just draw the eyes. Just be really simple with this, right? So you can actually just draw points like that, right? And then convert them with the pen tool here. Right? Oh, now you have something like that, right? And again, just kind of moving this around so that your eyes, so that's pretty good. Okay, so I got my eye here, and all I have to do here is make two of the same one, right? So I'm going to just double it by dragging it down into the plus sign, and then take one of those, right? Because they're both symmetrical. They don't need to be reflected like the ears did. So now I've got some basic shapes mapped out here. With this thing selected, with the head shape selected, let's actually go to View and make sure your rulers are on. So it's under View, Rulers, it'd be Show Rulers in this case. You can actually get a center point guide. So for the center of the head, right? So in head shape, with that selected, I'm going to just click and drag out from the center and put a guide down the center of the head, right? So your shape is kind of a little bit better. So yeah, you're just adjusting your shape here, right? And then you can even do it with the midpoint as well. Overall, kind of orienting this thing through the center, right? And I've got separate eye sockets, right? Left eye, right? Head shape. And then finally is just choosing some fill that's going to be more skin tone. So I'm using my library, my skin tone library, which is in the fill menu. And I'm also taking the stroke out. So all of these outlines of the shape that I created with the red are now being removed. I'll work on the ears and move them in a little bit. And we're starting to get a better blend of the overall shape by taking all the stroke lines out and just matching the skin tone. I'm going to make the center of the eyes white, and I'm also going to remove the stroke from the eyes. So I'm not going to go through all of it, but this is how I organized this file, right? I smoothed things out. I created separate layers for the eyes, the eyeballs, the mouth, the nose, the head shape, and also the shoulders, right? And the shoulders includes the neck here. One of the things that I did here is I'm going to definitely show you the mouth and teeth part because I want to show you what I did both with the eyes and the mouth. Now your character is going to look different, so I'm not going to prescribe this, but one of the things you can do in After Effects is matte out certain areas, right? So if I go back to my demonstration here, If I want to draw, say, a mouth, right? I'm going to draw the mouth out. I'm going to draw it out in a position where I know that I'm going to have to change that. The shape of the mouth is going to dictate how much of the teeth on the inside of the mouth that I see, right? So I'm going to draw a mouth. So if you look at this, right, I've got the mouth and the teeth. And the teeth all have paths as well, right? Because they're crossing in. So let's go back to my demo. I just drew, right, lines for the teeth, right? So I'm going to add another layer. Call this teeth. And I'm going to use my pen tool here. And I'm just going to draw my straight lines. And you press Shift to make sure they're nice and straight, right? So, and then click off, right? So I got one line. And I'm going to make sure that this is, so select on it. Make sure that the fill is off and the stroke is on. And we'll do like, I don't know, 3. Okay? So there's that one. And what I can do here, I've got one already selected. I can just drag it down to the plus sign and then use my arrow tool to move it over, right? And you can always elongate these as well, so you can kind of to fit what's going on here when you're. So it doesn't necessarily, right, have to be you drawing a new one each time. So it doesn't matter that they overlap because I'm going to use a matting technique. Say I want that, that to happen. Now I don't have enough teeth, right? So that's why I have these overlaps. So what I could do here is shift select them all and then just make sure they cover. So here's my final result. A couple of very important points to consider here. You have a transparent background. I always put my background in too so I can see my results, but you have a transparent background, right? That your file size is 1920 by 1080 pixels. And then you import your sketches so you have some reference for how you're going to draw your image. There should be some connection between your research images, your sketches, and your final result. Everyone's is going to look different, which is a great thing. So you can trace your character from the shoulders up, making sure that everything was within this title action safe here, except for the shoulders. I'm going to put them out, right? So the shoulders and the bottom are going to be slightly out of the frame, so it covers the frame. But the top of the head should really hit that sort of action safe. Make sure you separate all of your layers, anything you want to move, right? So the things that we want to move next week are going to be the eyes and the mouth and the shoulders. So those things should be separated at the very least, right? But I've separated my hair, because like the hair likes to move while I walk. I've separated the eyebrows, because they're going to change as well. And I've separated the nose as well, because the shape of the nose is going to change as I change my expression. So just keeping that in mind. And then I'm going to save it into a project folder. So making sure that happens now. So I'm going to save as into my project folder. So that is a super important one as well. Making sure it's in your project folder. Let me show you how I'm going to save all of this, right? So again, let's go into my Dropbox. And I would like you to create and upload a folder, right? So instead of a file, upload a folder. And I'm going to go ahead and find that folder. The whole folder. Okay, so the whole folder is going to be uploaded here. And I'm going to upload it. If you go into it, it's going to upload separate files, right? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to upload. Beautiful. Now I'm going to click on Share the folder. And I'm going to go down to the bottom link here and create that link. And copy it. And this is what I'm going to put into my submission at the bottom of week 6, right? So down here in my submission, I'm going to click on Write Submission and just paste that into here and then submit that. But that's how you submit the whole folder instead of just individual files. Make sure, right, go back to my Finder window here, is that you've got the whole folder selected, you're not inside this as you upload it. Have fun. Everyone's design is going to look different, which is great. I can't wait to see your designs. I've showed you briefly what I did to set up my character, but honestly, have fun, and you can base this on anything, really, anything that you desire. So here's my character, my shoulders up character, and next week we're going to work with animating in After Effects. But this week we've just prepared the file and made the design. Keep in mind those basic concepts of the principle of appeal, right? You want to start with a strong shape. I started with an oval. You want to play with proportions, right? I stretched my face out, made my nose a little bigger, my ears a little bigger, my hair got, kind of a little more crazy. And then you want to keep it simple, right? You're not making an illustration, you're making a cartoon. What can you remove should be the question you're asking yourself as you round out your edges and as you finish your design. What can I take away?